Hey everyone! In today's video, I am going to tell you quick settings, tips, and ideas to photograph best silhouettes. Welcome to Manual Mode Photography. Hey everyone! On this channel, we discuss all about photography lessons, tips, and ideas for photography, camera reviews, lenses reviews, and lot more. In today's video, we will discuss about quick settings, tips, and ideas to photograph best silhouettes. Have you ever been impressed by silhouettes that most professional photographers capture during dusk or dawn? You may have wanted to try them on your own but failed every time. In case you are facing problems in capturing silhouettes, then today, this video will help you with the understanding and basics of silhouettes. We have managed to calculate and produce some quick camera settings. And we have also got some interesting ideas to help you understand how to photograph silhouettes. Here are the easiest ways to get going with silhouette photography. Select a challenging subject. A silhouette can be created from almost any item, but some things are superior to others. Select an object with a distinct shape that will be fascinating enough to hold the viewer's interest in 2 dimensions. The shape must be different because silhouettes can't mimic the hues, texture, and tones of their topic to make themselves appealing. Get the correct lighting. Instead of lighting the subject's front, make sure that the backdrop of your picture receives more light than the foreground. Any strong light will do, but the ideal scenario is to position your subject in front of a sunset or sunrise. In other words, you want to light your subject's back rather than its front. Find only the contour of your subjects. It doesn't matter what a person's facial expression is when you take a silhouette photo because you'll only see their outline. However, the outline itself can have a significant impact. Therefore, you must learn to view your photographic subjects through the lens of their outline. You'll discover that seemingly insignificant details, such as the placement of a subject's limbs, can have a significant impact as you strive to create the best possible silhouettes of human individuals. Try taking pictures in burst mode if your subjects are moving so you can later select the ideal moment. Additionally, stay away from subjects that overlap, like people standing in front of one another. Subjects look bad since you can only see their combined outline, which makes them confused. Feel free to select auto mode. The majority of contemporary digital cameras are fairly adept at properly exposing a picture so that everything is lovely and bright. The issue is that most cameras are a little bit too intelligent and will overexpose your main subject rather than underexposing it to create a silhouette. What do you do then? Trick your camera. When you press the shutter button halfway down in auto mode, the exposure values are often predetermined. Therefore, aim your camera at the brightest area of the scene, then halfway push the shutter button. Then, position your camera further away and compose your photo as desired. To finish the action, press the shutter button one more time. Your camera will often develop a silhouetted subject when you push it to expose for the brightest part of the image, with the main subject displayed as a black shape. Be aware that certain cameras offer a spot metering mode that aids in the aforementioned method. With spot metering, you can precisely tell your camera the specific area of a bright background you want to use to adjust the exposure by placing the exposure meter in the center of your frame. Adjust the exposure manually. If the subjects are just little and don't take up a major section of the picture, your device's technology will simply set the exposure for the biggest portions of the picture and keep your silhouettes in the shadow. However, if your subject occupies a significant portion of the image, you must manually set exposure. You may achieve this by tapping on the brightest areas of the photograph that are not your subject. This will establish exposure for that point, and provided the light is coming from behind with a focus point, turn your subject into a silhouette. Observe movement. When you can, try to include movement in your silhouette pictures. When photographing silhouettes, the shutter speed will frequently be quite quick, enabling you to capture brief and singular moments that would probably get lost in the background in most other circumstances. Once more, burst mode is the ideal setting for capturing the ideal moment when taking pictures of motion. Shoot during golden hour. The dynamic range of the human eye is substantially greater than that of any camera sensor. When photographing silhouettes outside, the light must be relatively low over the horizon, which is why sundown, beautiful sunsets, and winter days at higher latitudes are great times. A person standing in front of a setting sun is instantly recognizable to our eyes, yet a photograph of the same face will reveal something quite different. As long as the light source is behind the subject, the object of the photo remains in shadow and instantly goes into a silhouette when you snap a photo. Ensure that silhouettes are distinct and clutter-free. Try to keep shapes or objects apart if there are multiple ones in the scene you're trying to shadow. Therefore, if you're creating a silhouette of a tree and a person, avoid having the person stand in front of an object because doing so will confuse the viewer and combine the two shapes into one. Additionally, when framing, you should usually take profiles of silhouetted subjects rather than straight-on shots. More of their facial characteristics, such as their lips, nose, and eyes, are highlighted in this manner, making the person easier to identify. The best techniques for taking interesting silhouettes. Being mindful of the background your silhouettes are set against is very crucial when taking silhouette shots. When using the sky as your backdrop, search for eye-catching cloud patterns and formations to see how you can contrast them with your silhouette to get a genuinely distinctive image. Here are a few of the most effective techniques for taking silhouette pictures during dusk or even at dawn. You need a brighter background than your subject in order to get a distinct silhouette. When the sun is low in the sky, either rising or setting, this is the best time to capture a silhouette. Photographers love to capture amazing silhouettes during sunsets, but a clear sky also makes for a respectable silhouette. Because you want to capture a silhouette, you must deceive your camera by having it base its metering on the sky rather than the subject. Start by aiming your camera at the brightest area of your picture, keeping it away from the sun, and halfway depress the shutter. Then, recompose your shot while holding the shutter halfway down, and snap the picture. Another tip for dramatically improving the surrounds of your silhouettes is to shoot from a low angle, which enables you to place your subjects against interesting backgrounds. Never hesitate to stoop to your knees, or even lower if necessary. You'll frequently experience problems with the sun blowing out significant portions of your photographs when shooting into the sun. When you snap pictures directly into the sun, a lens flare might also be a problem. While lens flare can occasionally be used to create a unique appearance, it is generally a good idea to completely block the sun by placing it behind your main subject. You'll also get intriguing shadows approaching you if your subject is narrow. Then, if you get on your knees, you can enlarge these shadows, which frequently look amazing because it draws the viewer's attention directly to your subject. To add a starburst effect to your shot, don't forget to reduce your aperture to f/8 or smaller. After that, take a small step back to frame your subject while keeping an eye out for distracting backdrops. Points to remember for silhouette photography. Use your camera's exposure compensation tool if your subject is still too light after adjusting the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. When capturing silhouettes, you should generally set your exposure value between -1 and -3 f. But you'll need to experiment to find the number that works best for the situation. You'll often want your subject to be clear and in focus, which is why you can effectively tell the camera to let in more or less light by adjusting exposure. If you utilize manual mode, you can always refocus on your subject after acquiring your exposure settings and adjusting them. Manual control guide for silhouettes. In case you want to test everything manually for capturing silhouette photos, here are a few tips for you. Adjust manual control. You should ideally shoot in manual mode so that you can control the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO rather than the camera in order to get the clearest silhouette photo. Here are some ideas to get you started if manual mode intimidates you and you're not sure which settings to use. To lessen the degree of chromatic aberration that often results when shooting directly into the light. To ensure that all of the details are in focus. Quicken your shutter. Underexposing your subject is the fundamental idea of the silhouette. You might be tempted to up your ISO when the sun sets, but you will have to reduce it to as low as you can go. It's acceptable to gently increase it, but be aware that if you do so, your pictures may end up with too much noise or grain. And with all the black in your photographs, it will be quite visible. While some cameras exhibit noise as early as 800 ISO, some do not come until 250 ISO or higher. Keep your ISO as low as you can if you're unsure of how your camera will behave. What kind of lighting is necessary to capture a silhouette? Subjects can be captured in silhouette in both brilliant sunlight and dim lighting. Whenever the subject is backlit, a silhouette is what you'll get. Subjects can be captured in silhouette in both brilliant sunlight and dim lighting. Whenever the subject is backlit, a silhouette is what you'll get. In the case of indoor photos, you can also get things right. You can still utilize the same shooting toward the light strategy when photographing indoors. Your subject will be backlit by the strong light behind it, turning it into a silhouette. Thanks for watching our video. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Comment if you have any feedback or query, and hit the bell icon for regular notifications.